Hello and welcome to another episode of MMOFTW here on MMORPG.com. This is your weekly source for all the news that was in the MMO world for the week that passed. Now, exactly what has happened this week? I don't even really know where to begin. I've joked recently about, nothing's happening, there's nothing going on. Last week, we saw SOE sold out of its parent company, Sony, to a venture capital firm called Columbus Nova, and now they're called Daybreak Games. Everybody thought, maybe everything's going to be just fine. They're just a new company. The SMED came out and said everything's going to go on as normal. No big deal. Well, this week, that changed a little bit. Huge amounts of popular people from the company, people that were real major faces in the studio, across all their major titles, have been laid off or have left. Let's go through a list here. Dave Georgeson, the man behind all the EverQuest titles right now, he's gone. Linda Brass Carlson, the head of community management, she's gone. Tom Terrazas, the guy that's currently leading the charge on EverQuest 1, he's gone. Steve Danuser, like the lore master for EverQuest and EverQuest Next, he's gone. Jeff Butler, one of the lead designers on EverQuest Next, he's gone. Matt Higbee decided to just pull up stakes and leave PlanetSide 2. He was the creative director behind PlanetSide 2, the guy that pretty much started the game from beginning to end and was still leading it now. He's gone. So there's even more people. You can find them, a growing post on Reddit, and there's even more on MMORPG.com. But I think it's safe to say that not everything is going to be as it was at SOE when it comes to Daybreak Games. What is interesting to me, because I know there's a lot of doom and gloom going on right now, is I'm friends with a lot of these folks on Facebook. When I say friends, I mean they're business acquaintances that we keep in touch on Facebook. And you see a lot of these people going in to defend Smedley and Daybreak Games, formerly SOE, saying that this is just part of the business, this is part of the viability of things that need to happen for the company to move forward. They don't take it personally. These are people that were with the company for 10 years or 6 years or anything very long times, that they love the company. They didn't think that they were going to be leaving. And when they were let go, they seem to be okay with it. Apparently they were treated very fairly with their severance packages. They don't have to rush out and get a job right away. And they believe that the company is going to be just fine going down the road in the future. Even Dave Georgeson, the guy that was driving EverQuest Next, says that the game's going to be just fine and just great as always, with Terry Michaels leading the charge now. So I really think, while it seems doom and gloom at this point in time with Daybreak Games and all the stuff that's going on, I do think we have to just kind of wait and see what happens with our titles. And EverQuest, that goes for all the old ones like EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2, and the new ones that are coming out like H1Z1 and EverQuest Next, and even Landmark to an extent. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the likes of Dragon's Prophet and DC Universe, games that have been around and maybe haven't been the most popular in the world since launch, especially with Dragon's Prophet. But we'll see. We'll see what happens and just kind of have to keep our eyes on it. What I do know is that this kind of thing is never fun to watch happen from a fan or media standpoint. Imagine how it is to be Smed right now, who I assume thought he was doing the best thing possible for his company and that everybody was going to be okay and keep their jobs, only to be told later that certain people had to be let go. It's not fun. It can't be fun. And say what you will about the guy and the whole Star Wars Galaxies thing, everybody will never let that man live it down. But Smed's a passionate guy who really does care about the people that work with him at SOE and now Daybreak Games, and I highly doubt that he's taking this lightly. So let's just keep our thoughts and prayers for everybody affected by the layoffs, and I know that pretty much every one of them will land a job very soon because they're all very talented people. Well, moving on, there's 4 minutes of a show for you. What else happened? How about BioWare suddenly randomly canceled its upcoming 4 versus 1 never-ending RPG Shadow Realms. We previewed the game last year at all the game shows when it was announced, and everybody seemed to like it. It was this current day setting, sort of secret world vibe game where 4 players took on essentially the dungeon master, kind of like Evolve, which just released last week. And It looked good. Everybody seemed to like it. They thought that the focus on the narrative that was always going to be ongoing with updated patches and stuff like that was really cool. And then we didn't really hear much about it for a while. And then we found out this week that it was completely canceled. Up and coming RPG just all this money spent on hyping up the marketing for the announcement, and it's just gone. It turns out that that's because, according to a post from BioWare Austin studio head Jeff Hickman, that there's a really, really big year ahead for Star Wars The Old Republic, for Star Wars Battlefront, and a whole bunch of other games that BioWare Austin is working on, and the Shadow Realms just didn't fit into that pipeline anymore. It could be, for all we know, that the game just wasn't that fun. Maybe it wasn't panning out the way they wanted it to. Or maybe, really, they're just like, well, let's shelf this one for now. And maybe we'll see some form of Shadow Realms come back in some other game that BioWare Austin makes. We'll just have to see. But for now, if you were looking forward to Shadow Realms, I wouldn't hold your breath. It's gone, folks. And in other, I guess, happier news, the Crowfall revenue model was announced this week. This big upcoming sandbox throne war simulation RPG from Artcraft Entertainment. Everybody's been wondering, is it going to be free to play? Is it going to be subscription? How's it going to go? And it was announced by Todd Coleman and Gordon Walton this week that the game will follow the buy-to-play model of Secret World, Guild Wars 2, and now, I guess as of March, Elder Scrolls Online. So you'll buy the game once, and you'll have all the content you'll ever need. You'll be able to play the game. You won't have to pay another dime if you don't want to. There will be an optional subscription as well, which will get you some perks and things like that. But if you just buy the box, you'll be able to play Crowfall from now until the doors are shuttered, however many years from now. So that's some good news, because I personally love the revenue model that Secret World and Guild Wars 2 have. I love the fact that I don't have to weigh in my head before I want to play the game again whether or not I feel like spending $15 on a subscription, especially if I don't know if I'm going to play it for a full month. With Guild Wars 2 and Secret World, I can hop back in and out at my own will without having to drop down $15. It's a nice thing, and I hope it turns out well for Crowfall. And some kind of weird news that came out of nowhere, and I think was probably overlooked by a lot of the SOE stuff and the BioWare Shadow Realms news and the Crowfall news. Atari, of all companies, which I honestly thought that Atari was gone, they just announced Asteroids Outpost, which is going to be a massively multiplayer space-faring and space-building RPG, survival RPG set on different planets and different asteroids across the universe. It sounds a lot like Space Engineers or just Minecraft in space, and no one really expected this to come out of here. So I guess we're going to find out more about it pretty soon, because it's going into early access on Steam. Atari is obviously no longer the big mega publisher they once were decades ago. I'm worried that Atari's Asteroids Outpost might be just kind of a shot in the dark at grabbing on some of that Minecraft pie, the sort of simulation and sandbox builder thing that's going on, this trend that's going on, and they're trying to cash in on a name more than anything else, because I highly doubt it's going to play anything like the original Asteroids. But it's a pretty cool looking screenshots and stuff that we've seen about the title so far, so we'll keep our eyes peeled, and of course we'll let you know how it is once the game's on early access and we can get our hands on it. And let's see, what else? Okay, here you go. This is pretty neat. So Sword Coast Legends was announced from some of the original guys at BioWare who brought us Neverwinter Nights. They're building this brand new RPG. It's a co-op RPG. This isn't MMO news, obviously. It's going to be a co-op RPG called Sword Coast Legends, set in the Forgotten Realms Dungeons & Dragons universe. It'll have a full campaign. It'll have a full map editor so that you can be a dungeon master and everything like that. You'll be able to play along with people as the dungeon master. You don't just make the map and then forget about it. You'll be able to play with them and watch how they progress throughout the dungeons that you've created. There's going to be the classic D&D classes, the races, a storyline that's developed by in tandem with Wizards of the Coast, and that's actually coming out this year. Kind of a surprise announcement this week. We don't know when this year yet. My guess is probably later in the fall or winter, but we'll be keeping our eyes on this one as well and let you know how it is as we get our hands on it. We do have an interview coming up with the guys at Wizards of the Coast, and and Endgames, who is developing SWTOR Coast Legends. So as soon as we have those answers back for you, we'll publish it on the website and let you know what the big deal is. And last but not least, in some I guess good news. I mean, it can't be bad news, right? WoW raised officially $1.9 million for Ebola relief and Red Cross in Africa by selling that little tiny blue goat that they sold. All the profits that they made from that one went entirely to the Ebola relief. None of it was kept by Blizzard, unlike their last charity sale that they made. So if you spent $10 on the little blue goat, you can rest assured knowing that the Red Cross is using that money very well in Africa to help the families and people affected by the Ebola outbreak there. And that's going to do it for this week, folks. As you can tell, I'm kind of battling a cold again. We got about like 3 feet of snow or something ridiculous in Ohio this week, and it doesn't seem to be stopping. So I think this cold will be with me for the next foreseeable future. But I hope you've enjoyed this week's MMOFTW. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook at MMORPGcom without the dot. You can also find us on Google Plus at MMORPGcom official. Or just Google MMORPG.com, Google Plus, and you'll find us there. You can also add us by the YouTube at MMORPG.com email address. And if you feel like it, you can add me, that's Bill Murphy, at the Bill Murphy on Twitter. I honestly don't do much but repost cat pictures, but hey, if you want to follow that kind of thing, it's up to you. Thanks again for listening, guys, and don't ever let a bad pug